Start, so count down.
Okay. Well, good evening, members of council, members of management, and also we have a guest in the audience, Lou Short, Airport Manager, Stephenville Airport Corporation. We have 19 attendees that have logged on at this time. It is 7:04 p.m. on this wonderful March day in Stephenville, Newfoundland. Spring is coming. I would ask a member of council to move that the agenda for March 9th tonight at 2023. We move it.
So moved. Sorry.
Okay, moved by Councillor White, second by Councillor Tracy Boland. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, we had some busy meetings, some privileged meetings, public meetings, some special meetings that took place in the last 2 weeks. It's interesting how busy it can be for a council. We do meet every 2 weeks, 3 weeks in the summertime, but some councillors or councils in some municipalities, maybe not as large as Stephenville, but only have monthly meetings. So a lot of things slow down, I believe, when you only have monthly meetings because it takes a long time and a lot of gaps, and I think it adds to red tape. So, but anyways, we had 4 meetings. So I'm going to ask for, and I'll do one in sequence. So item A, would recommend to approve our public meeting of council, which was February 23rd, 2023, 2 weeks ago. Those minutes were circulated by our town clerk. I would ask somebody to move that those minutes be adopted. Moved by Councillor Tracy Boland, second. Second, Councillor Lenny Keller. All in favor?
Okay.
Motion carried. So I understand we have Councillor Tristan Yulin unable to make it. He's on a search and rescue call. I hope everything works out there. Item number B was a privileged meeting, February 27th, 2023, to review disclosure statements. These disclosure statements are designed for council and management to identify their real properties, and it's in line with the municipal act and our code of conduct and all the openness and transparency that we bring forward. So I would ask a member of council, we move that item B be approved.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Gilbert, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councillor Myra White. All in favor?
Aye.
I think us.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Item number C was to recommend approval of a privileged meeting that happened on February 27th. I would ask a member of council to move that privileged meeting be approved.
So
Moved by Councillor Lenny Keller, second,
Second.
Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And the special meeting that took place was March the 6th. It was recognized to approve the special meeting. I would ask a member of council that we adopt this recommendation.
So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow, second by Councillor Myra White. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item A, B, C, and E have been adopted by council at this public meeting. Okay, any matters arising from the minutes? No matters arising from the minutes. That's good. That means we got some good grammar, and because Susan is sort of our grammar queen. That if there's something that doesn't make sense or. Okay, no proclamations or delegations. I know we do quite a bit. Do we do one for St. Patty's Day on one?
I don't know, but it was International Women's Day yesterday, so want to remind people of that and recognize the women in Stephenville and surrounding areas who come from other countries and other places, but also to recognize all women who are doing the hard work. And yeah, so that's my proclamation.
Well, that sounds good. Yeah, there's no doubt. It's unbelievable that we could meet in the 21st century and there's still some gaps that exist. But if you go back to the days of March the 13th in Salem and and suffragists, is it? Is that right?
Suffragettes, yeah.
Suffragettes.
They had a movie on it.
And you know how women, couldn't vote and couldn't work, and like at CN in 1898, when the, Newfoundland Railway was started. Well, there was no women could work on the train. Now they could work in the, postal off, or the train stations for
Mhm.
clerical and stuff like that, but they weren't allowed to work on the train. Nobody, only men. So we've come a long ways, and I gotta say that, look around the table here, and the females outranked the males, and it was the first council in the history of the town of Stephenville since 1952 that had more females than males, and we have broken that glass ceiling.
And look how we're about to expand and grow.
I know.
Not coincidental at all.
Good point, touche. Okay, yeah, now we're gonna get into some real business. We're gonna, item number 5, we're gonna put it on the shoulders of our Chair of Finance, Councilor Myra White, for committee reports of finance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome, everybody. In our Finance Committee meeting met on March the 6th, 2023, and the following items are recommended for council approval. Item number 1, property tax, requesting approval for property tax write-offs in the amount of $7,945.20 and adjustments of $150. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, seconder. Second by Councilor Laura Aylward, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 2, water and sewer tax, requesting approval for water and sewer tax adjustments in the amount of $2,648.15. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councilor Tracy Boland, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 3, business tax, requesting approval for business tax adjustments in the amount of $15,359.77. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Second, Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Expense check listing for February 2023. Requesting approval to pay expense check listing for February 2023 totaling $209,855.76. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councilor Lenny Tiller, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 5, travel expenses for council CAO. Requesting approval to pay the following travel expenses for number 1, Tom Rose, FCM Sustainable Communities Conference, February 2023, 4,000. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna have.
Oh, I'm
Separate.
sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I'll read it all over.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, requesting, before I read this, am I going to do each one separately, Jennifer? Approval for each one?
You don't have to now. For Tom is done.
Okay,
But don't have to vote.
okay. Requesting approval to pay the following travel expenses for Tom Rose to the FCM Sustainable Communities Conference, February 2023, $4,412.11.
Sorry, guys.
I so move.
Oh, second.
I'll second it.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Myra White, seconded by Councillor Tracy Boland. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Number 2, Colin Maddock, FCM Sustainable,
At a meeting. Yeah,
sorry.
sorry about that, guys.
Colin Maddock, FCM Sustainable Communities Conference. Does Colin, I'm sorry, Colin have to step away from the table?
No, I don't know. So.
Okay, I'll put him out.
No, he's good.
Okay, let me read it all over. Colin Maddock, FCM Sustainable Communities Conference, February 2023, $4,789.35. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Myra White, seconded.
Second?
Second Deputy Mayor Stephenville, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contra mine, 2 contra mine, 3 in favor. That would be constitute 2/3 with 5. Well, no, I can vote. Yeah, I'm in favor, so that will be 2/3, 4-2. Motion carried. Okay,
Item number 6, approval to hire Director of Engineering and Asset Management. Requesting approval to hire for the position of the Director of Engineering and Asset Management. I so move.
moved by Councillor Myra White, seconder.
Second?
Second, Deputy Mayor Stephenville, question?
Yeah, can you just, oh, is that like, can you just elaborate on
Yeah.
that?
So basically, this is a decision we had spoke many times on council that this is technically Ted's position that's vacant right now. Ted was Director of Public Works. Ted was a technologist, not a degreed engineer. But as we're moving forward and growing significantly with a lot of demands coming on us with international projects, this is something that's recommended through the consulting firm and was spoken about many times. But we felt that asset management was a very, very important part of that office. So for example, Ted was responsible for our water systems and our water wells and our aquifers. And Ted was responsible for water sewer treatment facility. So the new position would be responsible for those assets, no different than the assets of the town, which would be this building, our stadium, our swimming pool. Well, not totally the swimming pool because it's not really ours at this point, but
Like the SPCA building, the
any
YMCA, that stuff?
YMCA, all of our assets, because asset management, and Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow has been speaking on this many times in the last 5 years, I would say, is that we really have to have a asset management plan for, it's almost like your amortization or your shelf life of whether it's a sand truck that's got 10-year shelf life, or if you've got 10 wells, how long will they last? When should the maintenance be done? We have a sewer treatment facility. When is the end date on that before major repairs? But having an office of engineering and asset management will actually position us to be more prepared for the future. And then we would have less emergencies because there'd probably be a better management plan of our assets. So that's their rationale on that.
So this is in the future, not like right away,
This is great.
Anyway.
like booking,
Yeah.
like hiring right away.
Ted is gone since, when did Ted resign?
Yeah, the ad's already out.
We've been without that position, only acting for about 4 months now.
Yeah.
We haven't had an engineer here for 10, 12 years. And I think
Like a full-blown
real-
engineering plan? Yeah. Is that necessary though? A full-blown engineer? Like, wouldn't it be better if we consult an engineer? Like,
Still development.
so you're gonna, we're gonna pay a full-time engineer salary at the town of Stephenville.
Well, we were paying some.
We were paying the same
Now we
salary
pay-
pretty much.
Well, it's
paying a full-time salary to an engineer, that was Ted.
well, Ted's, yeah, Ted's,
It's not an engineer though.
no, but he was
But
getting
he is an engineer technologist, yes.
technologists,
Yeah.
yeah. But you guys are planning on hiring a full-time engineer,
Yeah,
like a full-blown engineer?
Mhm.
Well, the thing was, when I got on council in 93, I'm trying to remember now what was going on, but we ended up contracting out engineering to an engineering firm. And I believe we spent more money doing that than we would have if we would have our own engineer.
And
Really?
Yeah.
And my
How
thought-
is that possible
We
though?
paid a lot of money.
You wouldn't be using an engineer all the time.
Well-
Or you wouldn't be in need of an engineer all the time. Would you?
well, my thought on it is between if we're looking at hyper growth, if we really, if that's how we're seeing what's going to happen.
But nothing's happened yet. right?
No,
So we don't wanna put
but
the
we do
strong-
have a plan.
There is stuff happening.
We have to do our planning, right? And we know that there's certain things that are happening, right? We know that the hydrogen plant and stuff is gonna go, right? So that's gonna bring with it a number of things that are gonna require engineering. We're looking at our own movement, we're looking at old infrastructure. And we're also looking at, in a period of growth, the potential that the few potential engineers that we could contract around here are going to be contracted doing all kinds of other things. And so we're going to miss out on that opportunity. But when the person in the engineering department is not just doing the engineering piece, but the asset mapping and management, that's a fairly significant piece that I think is going to make us,
But is this a
Proactive.
salary that we can afford to pay like now?
Yes,
yeah,
it's in the budget.
it's very little
Paying already,
difference between that what paying.
Well, it's gonna be a lot more than what Ted was making. If it's a
Not
full-
necessarily.
full-on engineer.
But it was at the end of his career, remember? He had 20, I don't know how many years.
15 years.
Top of the scale, top of the steps. He
Yeah.
was well paid.
Okay, I'm confused on an engineer salary over an engineer tech then, even though he
Well,
was.
Yeah, but see, he wasn't just an engineer tech, he was the director of public works. Right? So he was being paid as a director of public works. So as a director, he had a certain salary, right? And now we're hiring a director of engineering. Well, there's a certain salary for that, not much different. I wouldn't imagine.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so this is in line with our requirements.
Like, I'm not arguing the fact that, you know, obviously Public Works and Dwayne right now needs help.
Yes,
We do need to replace Ted.
Mhm.
I just really don't agree with hiring a full-time engineer.
To be honest, we can't get engineers right now. We're trying to be able to find engineers to do work for us, like the CCCF right now. It's hard to get them because a lot of the engineering firms have left the West Coast. We used to be able to rely on S&C Latin. They don't do municipal work anymore. So we have two companies, but one company in Stephenville. We've got Justin House as well that does some work.
and that's.
And then we've got all the boards and that's it. And most of them are from the West. So we really don't have any of those engineers. And when we ask for them, when we need them, it's really hard to get them. So the reality, if we have them on board when we need, and we have to be able to ensure that our water system is maintained correctly, we know that these people are working or this engineer is working on behalf of the town of Stephenville and not working on behalf of an engineering company that may be affiliated with another engineering company. And we don't know what are they doing. I don't, because that's just sometimes how it works. So it's important. And most other towns in Newfoundland have a professional engineer on staff. It's what happens.
Towns of this size?
Oh,
Yep.
yes,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting, I had coffee with former C. Stein, who was, years ago, got rid of the engineering department and started using consultancy of engineering. And he said, it's time now for Stephenville to have an engineer. So, he's a guy with a lot of experience and I've seen, I remember Stephenville is in a growth sector now with a lot on the horizon. And we got to ensure that our asset management is maintained and is running with efficiencies and replacement and capital budgeting is put in place that we don't run into emergencies. That's what a good engineering director of engineering and public works will do. And it's in the budget. So any other comments from anybody else? No? Okay. We've been so long on that one. Did we get a first? We did get the motion.
did,
in
I
a
think,
second.
yeah.
Didn't get to
All
the,
in favor?
I,
Contramine?
I'm in agreement to hire somebody to replace Ted. So,
Okay.
I'm a yes.
You're a yes?
I was trying to make a decision while you were talking. Sorry for the.
Okay, so that is unanimous, Jennifer. Okay, thank you. Very good discussion. It's and sometimes these discussions are good too, because for the people that are listening, they understand that these decisions takes a lot of.
and Mr. Mayor, like I said, the consulting, we paid out a lot of money to the consulting engineer, believe me, over the years.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like manager was saying that, you know, in this day and age, you can barely find the engineers anymore. And when you have your own, at least you know that they're going to be here and they're going to be here to work with us. So I really, you know, I really would vote in favor of this.
And you've seen it because you're the longest serving counselor. You've seen both sides. Yeah. I think Eddie House was our last engineer. Is that possible?
That is,
I would think so, yeah.
that is possible.
That was a long time.
That's a long time.
So have you had resumes for the engineering position?
We gotta get approval before we.
Yeah.
Because I thought Laura had said it.
Well,
was
the ad
already
is written up, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been circulated.
Yeah.
So it's not it.
No,
No.
not until
Move
approval.
on.
Well,
And let's keep our fingers crossed we can find somebody. Because finding people.
yeah, that's the thing, right?
It's not an employer's market today. It's a employees market.
Yeah.
It's a labor market.
Okay, you guys have somebody in mind already or?
Okay, we're gonna move on now to number 7,
Okay.
request for
Did you
sponsorship.
vote on that?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, she said it was unanimous.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Request for sponsorship, the Canadian Fallen Firefighters Foundation, CFFF, requesting approval to sponsor Nigel Pike in the amount of $500 to support the Canadian Fallen Firefighters cycle event taking place in Ontario. I so move.
Second,
Moved by Councilor Myra White, second by Councilor Laura Aylward. I'd just like to speak on that. I think it's such a great thing that Nigel, as one of
yes,
our full-time fire department staff, attends. It puts Stephenville on the map in these forums. And you know, the fallen firefighters happens right across this country, right across the world. And when you think about, you know, I don't know if you've seen the movies about the forest fires and how they claim so many lives. And, you know, when they put on that uniform, it's just like the military. You put on for your country, your, you know, and there's so much to it. And it's interesting, we got a lot of DNA when it comes to fire department here. It started with the US military. And then as we grew, Stephenville had its own, and obviously when the base closed in 1966, we took on a large responsibility. And we didn't have the support of the US military. If you go across the ramp, center ramp was one of the locations for a fire department, and there was one at the airport, and then we had one here. Like there's 3 different areas of fire departments that covered. And not that many years ago, we had one of our tenured fire department staff, Mr. Wayne Russell, retired. And when he retired, he was the longest serving firefighter in Canada.
really?
Oh,
Yeah,
And he still is young.
Yeah, the longest serving firefighter in Canada. So, you know, when you go back to the history of your town or your departments and you dig deep, there's so much there that makes you proud, right? Okay, so we have a motion and a seconder. All in favor?
aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 8, a request for donation, Bay St. George Sick Children's Foundation, requesting approval to donate $500 to the Bay St. George Sick Children's Foundation. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, seconder, Councilor Tracy Boland. I gotta say another thing, basically, what they do for families in need is absolutely amazing. They have their fundraiser coming up,
They do.
actually about 30 minutes ago.
26th of March.
Yeah. Actually, I did a video with my son and his wife for the show.
Mm,
We did a song by Don Henley, Voice of Summer.
nice.
So I hope it turns out pretty good. But you know, they, and then, you know, hits close to home when, our firefighter, Mr. Butt, his son Connor's going through what he's going through. But let me tell you what, I got him nicknamed Connor the Great. Because let me tell you what, a lot of greatness in that young man, and this is quite, you know?
Yeah.
But his parents and the community and the support is just overwhelming, you know, so. So on that note, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 9, approval to sign contribution agreement between Stephenville Airport Corporation and the town of Stephenville. Requesting approval that the mayor sign contribution agreement between Stephenville Airport Corporation and the town of Stephenville as circulated, whereby the town agrees to contribute $32,500 per month to the Stephenville Airport Corporation with termination of a 30 days written notice. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councillor Laura Aylward, question.
Yeah, can you explain
Yeah.
to the taxpayers of what's actually going on here?
Okay, I'll give it my best shot. I think I know the file pretty good, but I'd like for everybody to weigh in also if you can, because the airport is always a very big topic for us. So what this does, it's a contribution. There's no question about it. For the last 20 years, this town has backed up the Stephenville Airport to keep it open, and went through some tough times, and it started when Air Canada pulled out in 1989. But you know, through all of it, we kept it going. But now, because of World Energy and the Diamond Group of companies in the NL partnership, we're pretty well at the end of the road for the contribution of the town, but we're not there yet. We're very, very close, probably just a month away. So the good news is we've been briefed by, and I sit on the airport board as a non-voting ex officio member, and we got briefed by the airport manager at our last meeting last week, Tuesday or Thursday, I can't remember. But anyways, the bankruptcy protection was the thing that held the transfer up the most. Last October, the Diamond Group transferred, I'll say a couple of $100,000 to the trustees to clear creditors that were not settled in the bankruptcy protection. So the airport sat there for 17 years and those creditors sat there. And because it was held by Ernst & Young, lawyers on our side, lawyers on the Diamond side, but the courts are involved when it comes to bankruptcy. So it had to go from the trustee to the superintendent of bankruptcy. Then it had to go back to the trustee. And companies had to be found. There were some companies that were out of business. There were some people that had unfortunately passed away. Probating and doing all that was complex. It took 7 months, but finally we got the good news at last week's meeting that on April the 12th at 10 o'clock on the court docket in St. John's in front of the Supreme Court, the file to lift the bankruptcy will happen. Everything's been paid. All taxation regime has been completed by the Ernst & Young. And what that means, it allows the airport to transfer. And once the airport transfers, the challenge for us up till now is we've been having to offset the cost of operating that airport. No different than we did with the stadium, no different we did with the pool. There are assets. Now, we don't own the airport, but it's a community airport. It's in our community. Little bit of a different structure, but we stood by it. But the good news is, once the airport transfers, up till now, we have been writing off millions of dollars in taxes, not alone given millions of dollars in operational costs. So once it's transfers, we don't have to give any more money to keep the lights on. That's somebody else's responsibility. But we have a new tax regime. And I think it's close to $250,000 on that airport. I think between water and sewer and that we have not been collecting. So as this year starts to move forward, we're going to be in a recovery position of revenue to come back to the taxpayers of this town. Plus, we're going to have a company with capital that's got some significant plans at the airport. And it's going to help the airport. World Energy may require the airport in so many different ways. Obviously, just coming in with their jets. And it's World Energy is, when they spoke to me, they said, you know, we want to ensure that that airport stays operational. So we've been doing it really on our backs and taxpayers' backs, but now somebody else will do it after April 12th. So that's roughly where it's at, right?
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. So any other questions?
I'll just make a comment that I'll start by saying this, because what the airport did is wonderful. They went out and they found somebody, they got innovative. They found a way to monetize something they haven't been able to monetize, that didn't require aircraft, didn't require anything. And they deserve to be applauded for that. How we became party to a deal between two private entities, I don't know.
Well, just
I
a
do-
correction.
I do think that,
Just a correction. We're not involved with two agencies. And this is just between the town and the airport.
yes, but this doesn't come about without a contribution agreement
Yes.
from World Energy. So therefore we are, because if it wasn't for World Energy, we wouldn't be talking about an MOU. So we are a party to this, and I don't know why. We have done our part for 20 years of keeping this place open. We've done our part in the last year and a half of doing our part. And you made an important comment where World Energy said they want to make sure this place stays open. World Energy has the money to ensure that that happens. I don't personally feel that we're in the position right now to ensure that happens anymore without either one, raising taxes, or two, having to cut expenditure somewhere else. So not allowed to say how I'm gonna vote, but I guess you can all figure it out anyway. But most important thing here is the airport is on the right track by finding ways to monetize something without having aircraft come here, which is a wonderful thing. The airport board, the airport manager deserves to be applauded for that. But I don't feel personally that the taxpayers of this town need to be party to this deal. Thank you.
If I could just add one other thing too, it's nice to see the diversification at the airport. Obviously, with World Energy, we anticipate the airlines are going to be established. And that's something we've been really lacking. But now there's other opportunities because of the real estate, cargo. And remember too, the airport, a lot of people don't know this, that we contribute to the airport, but the airport has 6 staff that part of their duties is they run the 9/11 system for this town. So if the airport wasn't there, with those 6 staff, we'd have to find a way to be running it under our responsibility within the provincial government. So that's sort of been a dual relationship that and we don't get invoiced for that, you know, so, but it is a community airport and they know we've supported them and they're volunteers, they're non-share, nobody gets anything, they don't get honorariums, you know, but we're so close to the gate, to the finish line, that I think it's very important, and the contribution, they're getting smaller as you come out of the winter. Obviously, the winter is your highest cost center, very low revenue. Come the spring, your revenue starts to increase, your cost starts to drop. So what's nice about this, there's a 30-day out clause for us. So any other questions?
No.
Some good discussion.
For me.
So we have a motion, we have a seconder, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna go with it. So I'm gonna say aye this time.
Thank you. Contramine. Okay, noted, 1 contramine. Motion carried. Okay. Is there anything late, Jennifer or Colin, on finance? No. While we're closed out on finance, I just want to say that we hear it every day about phone hackers and financial hackers, and kind of happened to me today. That people connected to me, started getting texts from me as the mayor, and I don't have them, like my email address is like everybody, tom.rose, susan.fowl. And you got to be very, very careful of that. I know 6 weeks ago, a good friend of mine sent me a text saying he was in an accident and he got a contractor that needs this bit of money and could I arrange it? And there's a very close friend of mine that if he was front in my face, I would have probably, yeah, I'll help you.
Mm.
But I noticed there was something and it was a hack.
Yeah,
So be very, very careful, the general public that are listening, because there's a lot of bad people out there.
Mm.
yeah, and they've been but talking about that, a lot of break-ins around the town too.
Yes.
Yep, same area again, yeah.
Yeah, which we should probably talk about later. at
Yeah.
our planning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
yeah,
You know, I gotta say too, that you just got me twigged on something. Now, as we move forward, I know we have a policy in our town that every fourth telephone pole, we got a street light. Very good. How long is that? That's been there probably for 50 years. Maybe as we move forward and our financial position increases in 2024, let's say, everything happening, we could change our policy and go every second street, every second pole, because lighting drops down on crime.
Yeah.
Dark areas, you can ask the RCMP, but that's something that we should talk about, Councillor Rowland, about some mitigation, you know?
Number
We
one
can-
deterrent if you light
I
it.
thought it was every
And
second.
the other piece is
I
the
thought we had every second pole.
No, before.
every fourth or third, I think, or
I didn't think,
not every second.
I didn't think it was every fourth.
No, I don't think it's every fourth either, but it's not enough, whatever it is.
No,
The
no,
other thing is, as people age, lighting becomes much more important, and we have an aging population here, and, we haven't done anything to, really recognize that that would be very beneficial to an aging population as well, right?
Yeah, but it's so true, like, dark zones, it's no different, it's funny you say that, before we get on to our planning, that, they say if you run a business, have a lot of lighting in the front of your business, and your parking lot is well lit, it'll attract business. Because as we get older, we get less confident. And people, they won't go into stores with low light, parking lots with low light, because they're frightened to be mugged and whatever. And so look, that's something we need to look at, a lighting strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, good point. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to, thank you very much, Councillor White. Okay, we'll turn it over to planning and traffic to, Councillor Laurie Orr.
okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we have a short one there. At the Planning and Traffic Committee that met on March 6th, 2023, the following items were recommended for council approval. First item was 9345 and 9347 Little Port Harmon, Paul O'Reilly. Request, try to do this with my magnifying glass now. Request to approve outlining planning permission for to consolidate two parcels of land, 9345 and 9347, located at Little Port Harmon, into one parcel to be known as 9345 Little Port Harmon. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Laurie Orr, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councillor Mara White, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Second item, notice of proposed municipal plan and development regulation amendments. The town of Stephenville has received a request for an amendment to the municipal plan and development regulations to rezone approximately 0.6 hectares, is that hectares?
Tons.
Of land, community known as Wheelers.
Commonly.
Oh, commonly, I told you, I need my magnifying glass.
Sure, use your magnifying.
I
glass.
know.
Got it there?
It seems so funny. Commonly known as Wheelers Lounge, located on Route 460 in Knowles Pond. From flood to community services and from floodway to commercial general. Recommended to proceed with proposed amendments for public comment. The proposed amendments will be available for viewing on the town's website. The applicant will be responsible for all incurred costs associated with the amendment. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Laurie Orr, second. Second, Councillor Pearson Bull, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
I got it. It really make a difference. Land lease agreement, Clem Geo Energy. At a special meeting of council on March 6, 2023, it was recommended that the town of Stephenville council do not extend their land lease agreement with Clem Geo Energy. Clem Geo did not meet the requirements of the lease to obtain an extension, and after consultation with them, it appears that the project would not be feasible for a number of years. Limited progress has been made on the acquisitions of the required permits. Also, they would be required to develop a new wind turbine, the timeline for which was and remains unknown. If the town approves a competitive process for the use of the land in the future, we invite Clem Geo Energy to participate. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Lori Aylward, seconder. Second by Councilor Lenny Tiller. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
And that's it for planning. As far as I know, there's no late items.
Okay, thank you. Nothing late, Jen? Come. Okay, bylaws, regulations, nothing? Any unfinished business? New business?
Go back to bylaws and regulations. The animal control regulations that we did, there was a few changes made, Jen, right?
Jennifer?
Could I get a copy of the new regulations when you get a chance? Jennifer,
Yes, sir.
please. Thank you.
I got two little updates, I guess, to give, and if Colin got time to just give a little update on our trip to Ottawa for the sustainability conference. That trip was congruent, I guess, with a suite of meetings that Colin set up through our federal MP's office, Goody Hutchings. And the meetings were held with different federal departments who actually have funding to help municipalities across Canada with their needs to grow should a hyperdevelopment happen. And as you well know, Ottawa knows a lot about what's happening in Stephenville because we had the Prime Minister and the German Chancellor sign the World Energy Summit in Stephenville. There's a lot of attention on Stephenville. So a couple of the meetings, and I'll add a couple, and Colin could probably add in. While we were doing the sustainability conference, we had meetings with our MP, but also with all different federal departments. And there's times that we had to go to their offices, times they would meet us at the conference and we'd find a place to meet. So two in particular that we met that were very, very good meetings. One was with rural transit. So rural transit in Canada is becoming a hot item because affordability, carbon footprint, all those factors, as we well know, cities have great transit. A lot of people in cities don't own cars. You don't have to. You know, they got trains, planes, and not automobiles, planes, trains, and they walk a lot.
Yeah.
We don't walk. That's a strange thing. We don't, because we're rural, less people. But anyways, so there was one fund there for $5 million for purchasing buses. So the last thing that we would want reaching out 5, 10, 15 years from now as development happens, we don't want to become a Fort McMurray in the sense that everything goes up, but the people on fixed incomes and the people that are low socioeconomic can't afford to live there because of the price of housing or the price of transit or the price of gas or all that. So we looked at that, and it's interesting. While we were at the conference, the CEO, the new CEO of FCM, sorry, not FCM, our Newfoundland municipalities, M&L, and their team were there. They met with us, and they were very excited that we were talking about transit, and we're talking about regional transit so that we could potentially have buses from as far as Cape St. George, Robinson's, Burgeo, all coming into Stephenville. So people in those communities can grow and people can stay in those communities because you have affordable transportation to come to the doctor or go to pick up your groceries or any of the dentistry and stuff like that that's happening. And that's so important to them that we have a meeting next week. I don't know, it was Tuesday or Wednesday with M&L because they want to partner with us. Under the Municipalities Act, only cities are allowed to get involved with transit or get, transportation. As a town, we're not. But if
Borough for transportation.
yeah, or even Borough. So what's happening now, the province, if they start moving into regionalization, obviously we're a regional center, Stephenville, we may qualify to set up transit service that will help not just Stephenville, but every community around us.
If we had a high-speed transit process, then if I'm working in Stephenville, I can choose to live anywhere in the region. It'd be kind of neat, right?
Yeah.
And people, nobody's got to leave their home if they could jump on and get an hour to work.
Yeah.
I noticed, is it Deetra Walsh was on radio the other day on Crosstalk or something, and she talked about MNL lobbying the government to get them to recognize the importance of transportation as a rural issue, not a city one, right?
And one of the things we talked about, because of the evolution of transportation, we may see hydrogen buses.
Yeah.
Hydrogen being produced in Stephenville for hydrogen fuel cells in buses and hydrogen fill stations in Stephenville. And that would be green buses running around within. Outside, they tend to be diesel because of the distance and stuff like that. The other big meeting that I really, and Colin, you could add on to the other meetings, but the two big ones for me were, the other one we met with was CMHC. And we wanted to talk to them about affordable housing. Now, municipalities are permitted to be involved in municipal housing because that's important to us because people on fixed income or low socioeconomics, or some of those people that may be working in the retail sector with very low salary scales, if the rents and the housing costs go really high, like we're looking at, we don't have anybody living on the streets that I know of, but we do have people couch surfing and don't have a place to live. I know that.
But some of the rents are really high.
Yeah, but they're very interested in looking at us to talk about a project to do affordable housing in our town. And that would be partnered with contractors, and there's a whole. So anyways, I'm gonna let Colin speak on anything else I may have missed or.
If I can add to those two, a big issue right now is that from the provincial side, there's not a significant amount of excess funding available to municipalities, especially Stephenville, to be able to develop where we have to go. And of course, as we know, from a municipal point, that's quite constricted. So really, from our point of view, the only resources that we're going to be able, significant resources, is probably going to be federal or from the private sector. And that's going to have to be matched. So Manuel Hackett, who has been seconded from ACOA to Goody Hutchings' Department for Rural Development, offered to be able to, a long time ago, to be able to support some meetings in Ottawa to be able to look at financing or accessing financing, to be able to those connections, to be able to really draw in the federal funders that we're going to be needing. And that timing that he had was during the Sustainable Cities Conference to be able to set up those meetings with us. So as the mayor mentioned, we met with Minister Hutchings, which was very an interesting meeting. And again, I reiterated her support for the town of Stephenville going forward, especially when we look at accessing new financing. Some of the areas that we're looking at right now that we have to be able to look at is affordable housing, as the mayor mentioned, because we can't leave people behind. We're going to have, very soon, rapid growth or potential rapid growth in our town, and we have to be prepared to do that. Part of the thing we're doing right now is to be able to look at doing some outline planning to be able to know where we're going to be going with new developments. The second part of this is to be able to ensure that we draw in the big funders for financing or for housing and affordable housing into Stephenville. Canadian CMHC is that financing in Newfoundland over housing. We've already had conversations with them to be able to see how we might be able to develop and support either from private sector, public sector development, or cooperative development housing going forward in the future. And that's going to be very, very important. Some of the areas when we talk to them that are interested in modular housing, as well, and small houses, tiny houses, not to the degree, but more, I guess there's a lot of work that's being done on housing specific for veterans, for example. But we could be doing small housing, affordable housing, net zero housing that we're going to have to be able to build going forward, and we need funding to be able to do that. So they've agreed in principle to come to a symposium conference at some point, probably in June, to be able to look at the issue of housing in Stephenville and Bay St. George. And we hope to go from there. As the mayor mentioned, rural infrastructure, that would be the Department of Infrastructure, Rural Transport Department, is a very interesting meeting. As the mayor mentioned, there's $5 million potentially available for funding of green rural transport. It's important as Stephenville starts to grow, that Stephenville spreads the development, spreads the new residents to the region across the region. And that allows us to be able to grow in a more balanced way, that we don't have massive growth in Stephenville and no growth in Fort Fort East, for example.
We want growth for Stephenville Crossing. I just want to
Yes,
say
and we
that.
do in St. George's, and we want it out, spread throughout, because it allows for balanced growth, and that's important. And as the mayor mentioned, we had the opportunity to meet with municipal M&L and presented what we were doing and why we were looking at these funding agencies as important to being able to look at the development of Stephenville going forward, just from a financing point of view, but also from a support point of view. And they've taken on board this rural infrastructure transport item, and we're looking at stacking or combining other municipalities to be able to stack the resources, to be able to do something a lot more extensive in the region, as opposed to just applying for a $5 million grant for a green hybrid 3 or 4 buses. If we look at bringing in Lourdes and Corner Brook and Port aux Basques and Burgeo, we could just draw it all in. So we have to be able to stitch something bigger in a regional area. It's complicated because, we're not a region. We're only a municipality in a region, and there is no regional organization that can do this. So we have to be able to look at how do we stitch this together. And the good thing is that M&L can do that. Now, if I can briefly talk to the other 4 meetings, I guess, or 3 or 4 meetings.
One was really, NRCan was a really.
NRCan Forestry.
Yeah.
We've been working for the last, I think, 8-9 months on the development of a forestry cluster, which would involve mass timber, milling, tree growth, bioaviation fuels, and maybe some other, maybe furniture manufacturing in a cluster that would allow us to be able to develop a secondary industry, which would do 2 things. In the event that our large investors or potential investors here don't come, or something happens, or we have something to be able to go to. If they come, then we're diversifying, which is important. And it also allows us to be able to look at a balanced graded access to labor, for example. So we want to be able to ensure that our labor market is balanced, so that what happens is we're not just looking for engineers, for example, that we're looking for a full range of jobs from different skill types and different individuals in our region, because we can't leave anybody behind in this process. So if we look at furniture development, or we look at forestry products development, that allows us to be able to provide jobs to a broader range of individuals from our region, and that will be important.
On that one too, Colin, they agreed to fund an investors forum in the people this summer.
Yeah, so that's
Bring
important.
investors in around that cluster, they'll come down and they'll pay for it. Right?
And I've also had some discussions with Memorial and Corner Brook, because they have the boreal forest development, and also they have the center near and we've clustered together and developed something which is not just a Stephenville driven thing, but maybe a regionally driven thing that will be focused in Stephenville. So that's what we want to be able to do, is develop these industries that both assist us, but also support the development of a housing development and companies to be able to build things that carbon zero, because we're going to need kind of timber and sequestered carbon within timber. We also met with the Department of Agriculture. One of the things that we should do, we must do as a region, as a municipalities, to ensure that there's enough food and that's available to our people. But it also, so to be able to commit going forward to a 100% food security in 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years or whatever it is, it provides us with two things. First of all, the ability to be able to ensure we have food because we live on an island. And the second thing is creates another significant industry by doing import substitution on food that we would normally be bringing into Newfoundland. What we can do is we can produce it here. So what happens is we've had some conversations with Memorial and Corner Brook because they have an agriculture department. And at one time, Newfoundland was one of the largest producers of sheep and lamb in the world. And what happens is we can still go back to that. We just have to be able to create these abilities to be able to do this. So through a combination of cooperative farming, through developing greenhouses that can primarily be, can be supported through lots of energy and heat. And we're going to have lots of energy and heat somewhere. So we're trying to find things that are self-supporting. And that's something we're looking at developing. Some really interesting conversations on agriculture, and they will continue to be able to support us. And then we had a really interesting conversation with Halapu, because Halapu was in town for the Northern Lights Conference. And at the same time, we had some conference because we're going to need Halapu and Halapu developments to be able to do different things with respect to the development of industrial zones and things like that we won't be able to finance.
I think they're going to be coming in to present to council.
Yeah, I think so.
Month.
Yeah.
About some plans for Stephenville for Halapu on the commercial and industrial side, which is a good thing because they see opportunities here, obviously, with their QVC and so forth. But the big thing, even with this, is you got to realize that we were very strategic, thanks to Colin and our MP and Manuel Hackett, who's
a wonderful guy, wonderful,
amazing.
It's very sports.
That while we spent money going to the FCM and the Sustainable Village Conference, and we did all that, we were busy flat out doing. So we would have had to make 2 trips, 2 separate times. The cost would have been higher.
If I can add here, we all know that we're dealing with a deficit reduction plan right now, and we really have to be able to watch what we spend on. We really can't keep focused on the fact that we have to be able to be prepared for growth, because if we're not, it's going to get away from us and it's going to be bad. So we have to try to be able to prepare as much as we can to be able to find whatever resources, financial resources that are available from the public sector, primarily from the federal government, to be able to ensure that we can proceed with this development is coming. Because we know something's coming, and it may be big, and it may be medium, and maybe small, but we got to be ready, and we have to be able to engage these entities, these organizations, these agencies, to be able to ensure that we can ensure that that growth will happen. And that's really critically important that we do that. And that's where these, and Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thanks for those updates.
So I got 3 things I want to talk about really quickly. I want to say the broom ball was very successful at the Dome this weekend, and it was on the MTV News. So good on Randy Green at the Dome for pulling that off. I want to talk about all the break-ins in Stephenville. I know there's a lot of people very nervous in our community right now, and maybe we really have to be vigilant in our neighborhoods and really look out for one another and check each other's properties. Like it's really starting to get out of control. In fact, there was a few seniors that were broken into, and they had a lot of very sentimental items stolen, and they're pretty brokenhearted. And so if everybody in the community can please keep an eye on each other to get this under control one way or another. The third thing I want to talk about is a lot of taxpayers are asking me how the water system's going with the whole manganese issue. So if the CAO, if you don't mind talking about that
On the manganese
to
issue?
the taxpayers.
If I can add, there was a testing done on the 7th of September, or sorry, 7th of February here. It was done at the town bathroom here. And I think that there was a sampling problem, because what happened is that it was basically 5 parts per, and that was basically 2.5 times higher than. Immediately after that, we contacted the responsible provincial and asked them to be able to come and retest. They did 3 tests. They did one where they should be normally doing it, which is the first level out at the pump house near Ned's Pond. That's the first point where water enters the municipal system. And they tested there, and they tested here, and they tested, I think on Wyoming Drive. each one of the samples were almost the same, and they were 10 times less than the normal amount. So I can say there has not been a manganese problem. There was a sampling error.
False positive
It was a sampling error.
sample.
And what happens is sometimes when you take a sample that can be, just from one location, it can have an issue. So that was it. So there has not been a manganese problem here.
Good.
At all. And we can say that because we had it retested, and in a normal case, what we would have done is when the higher the normal amount would have been registered, we would immediately retest it before we would have told anybody. So we've done a quick retest, and then what we would have said is, don't worry, because we wouldn't create panic. But it's 10 times less than normal. Our water, as always, is good. Drinkable, it's fine. I can't say that.
Okay.
Okay, so one last thing I got here, we just got an email today, I say, a call from Grade from the provincial government. But on March 27th, we have a group of Ukrainians coming to our town to see the opportunities to move here. So there could be from 30 to 45 Ukrainians, and they're visiting Corner Brook, Deer Lake, and Stephenville. We've been in negotiations with provincial ANC, Colin and I. So we'll probably have to, with their department and Colin and us, arrange a little social with them for coffee and sandwiches or something. Brief them on our town, but my thoughts are we would bring as many of our Ukrainian families that live here now. Colin's obviously, his family is Ukrainian, but the professionals that work at Nomad Stages, who actually immigrated here before the war in Russia, into Ukraine, and made a life here. So just mark it down. I'm hoping all councils are available on the 27th, but I'd like to see full council at the event.
And if I can add, it would be very important that those individuals who may have jobs or may be interested in hiring may also be able to be present as well. It's the important thing is to be able to match these Ukrainians with, or these potential people, residents of our town, with jobs. And these are high skill. We'll try to get some kind of a framework of what their skill set is. We asked when we initially had this discussion, maybe about 2 weeks ago, Mr. Mayor.
Well, Greg mentioned today, there's telecommunications, mechanics, all different. So what we'll do, we'll try to match like a Bell Alliant rep to be at that.
Absolutely.
Maybe some shop that's looking for a mechanic, to bring some of our business people into that.
Yeah.
World.
As we desperately need.
That brings us full circle to affordable housing.
Yeah.
I've had a number of conversations over the past 2 or 3 weeks with employers in this community who can't fill positions, right? And talking a little bit about where they could find employees and bringing in people from elsewhere and so on, but it comes back, like every conversation I've had goes back to, if you found people, where are they going to live? And there's such a shortage that as we anticipate, say, this group coming in and opportunities for them, we've got to also be able to get a handle on where people might live.
I think that, again, CMHC, and we understand that.
Yeah.
And CMHC, and they said that they could also bring down some, or propose some large Canadian level, like large producers, modular homes, stuff like that. So make this a much bigger engagement. So we've got to solve this issue.
Yeah.
And I think it's important.
Yeah, okay, so on that note, it's 8:07. Any other final comments?
I can just add one more thing. Just to be able to inform we had initially thought that affordable housing project would be moving on Alabama Drive, unfortunately, to inform, and we've approved that by council. But the problem is that we found that the level of petrochemicals are a bit too high in environment and phase 2 environmental assessment. So we're scrambling right now to be able to find a new location for them. So
That has to come back to council too.
but they have to apply in 2 weeks. That's what we have to do. So we may have to come back to you very, very rapidly once we find another location for them.
Like a special meeting too.
Yeah, and we'll have to be a special meeting. If I can, we might find a spot up near the hospital where, their wellness centers.
Yeah, where the wellness center's going, that's already approved, through NON, which is, I think, a $5 million project. If there's enough room alongside, that we can do these, 5 duplexes.
And
That's what comes with.
So we're scrambling right now. It's a little bit of an effort, but it's kind of all hands on deck to be able to help them to be able to do this very worthy project.
Yeah.
But just to inform.
Okay, so on that note, I would ask a member of this great council to adjourn the meeting. Moved by Councilor Lenny Taylor, second by Councilor Tracy Boland. Meeting adjourned. It is 8:08. I want to thank all the attendees for joining via Facebook or electronic media, whatever means you have. Anyways, we'll hopefully see you in 2 weeks' time. Meeting adjourned.